We all have one. That mysterious kitchen drawer packed with old cables you're too afraid to throw away. You know the one. A tangled jungle of wires, thick printer cables, tiny chargers from phones you no longer own, strange connectors from gadgets you can't even remember buying. Somehow, every cable in that drawer looks important enough to keep, but useless enough to never use again. For nearly 2 decades, connecting our devices was a frustrating mess. Every gadget seemed to need its own unique cable. Then something remarkable happened. A tiny oval-shaped connector appeared and quietly began eliminating every rival in its path. It conquered laptops. It conquered headphones. It conquered gaming consoles. And after a massive global battle, it even conquered the iPhone. That connector is USB-C. But why? What makes this tiny port so powerful that it became the universal language of modern technology? And hidden inside that small piece of metal is a technology far more impressive than most people realize. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind the one cable that changed everything. To appreciate USB-C, we first need to remember what technology looked like before it existed. Back in the 1990s, the back of a computer looked like the control panel of a spaceship. There were serial ports, parallel ports, PS2 ports, game ports, audio ports, and every single one served a different purpose. Want to connect a printer? You needed one cable. A mouse? A different cable. A joystick? Yet another cable. Nothing worked together, nothing was simple, and sometimes you even had to restart your entire computer just to make a device work. Then came a revolutionary idea, the Universal Serial Bus, USB. The name itself promised something incredible, one connection for everything. For a while, it seemed like the dream had finally arrived. USB Type-A became the standard connector found on nearly every computer. But there was one problem. Technology kept getting smaller. Phones became thinner. Cameras became lighter. Portable devices exploded in popularity. The large USB connector simply didn't fit, so manufacturers started creating smaller versions. First came mini USB, then micro USB. Printers kept using USB Type-B. External hard drives introduced strange double-sided connectors. Every company seemed to have its own solution. And once again, consumers were drowning in cables. By the early 2000s, the dream of a truly universal cable was falling apart. Something better was desperately needed. In 2014, the USB Implementers Forum revealed its answer. USB Type-C. At first glance, it looked surprisingly ordinary. Small, compact, simple. But inside, it was a masterpiece of engineering. Older USB cables contained only 4 pins. 2 handled power, 2 handled data. That was it. USB-C was completely different. Engineers somehow managed to fit 24 pins into a connector barely larger than a fingernail. And those pins unlocked capabilities nobody had seen before. But perhaps the most beloved feature was also the simplest. USB-C was reversible. No more flipping the connector over 3 times. No more guessing which side was up. No more frustration. The connector could be inserted either way. Internally, the device instantly detects orientation and route signals automatically. It sounds simple today, but at the time it felt almost magical. Yet convenience was only the beginning. Those extra pins enabled something called alternate mode, and that changed everything. Suddenly, a USB cable wasn't just a USB cable anymore. The same connector could carry video, audio, data, internet signals, and much more. One tiny port was becoming a technological Swiss Army knife. Then came the feature that truly made USB-C unstoppable: power delivery, or simply USB PD. Older USB ports were weak. Most delivered only a few watts of power, enough to slowly charge a phone, not enough to power anything serious. Laptops still needed large proprietary chargers. Every manufacturer had its own charging connector. Every device demanded its own power brick. USB-C changed the rules. Instead of blindly sending electricity, USB-C devices communicate with each other. The charger asks, "How much power do you need?" the device responds, and only then does power begin flowing. A pair of earbuds might request just a few watts. A smartphone may request dozens. A high-performance laptop can request dramatically more. Modern USB-C power delivery standards can deliver up to 240 watts. That's enough power to charge many laptops, monitors, and professional workstations. Through the same connector you use for your phone. For the first time in history, one cable could realistically power almost every device you own. The dream of universal charging was finally becoming reality. But there was one major holdout: the world's most popular smartphone, the iPhone. Ironically, Apple was one of the earliest supporters of USB-C on laptops. Yet for years, iPhones continued using Apple's proprietary Lightning connector. Why? Because Lightning gave Apple control. Accessory manufacturers had to follow Apple's rules and often pay licensing fees. From a business perspective, it made perfect sense. But regulators saw a different problem: electronic waste. Millions of people were buying new chargers and cables every time they upgraded devices. The result was mountains of unnecessary e-waste. The European Union decided enough was enough. After years of discussions and legislation, the EU introduced a landmark rule. Portable electronic devices sold within Europe would need to adopt a common charging standard. That standard was USB-C. The decision sent shockwaves through the technology industry. For Apple, abandoning Europe was impossible. The market was simply too important. And so in 2023, the iPhone 15 arrived. For the first time in iPhone history, Lightning was gone. USB-C had finally achieved what many believed impossible: true universality. But before we celebrate too much, there's one important catch. Not all USB-C cables are created equal, and this is where things get confusing. Two cables can look absolutely identical on the outside, yet perform completely differently. One cable may support fast charging, another may not. One may transfer files at incredible speeds, another may crawl along at a fraction of that speed. One may support external monitors, another may be incapable of displaying video at all. The connector is universal, the capabilities are not, which means the cable you choose still matters. And that's often the biggest source of USB-C confusion today. Despite its imperfections, USB-C represents something rare in technology: a genuine simplification. After decades of cable chaos, we finally live in a world where a single charger can power a laptop, phone, tablet, headphones, camera, and countless other devices. One connector, one ecosystem, one cable. For anyone who remembers digging through a drawer full of mystery wires searching for the right charger, that feels nothing short of revolutionary. And honestly, that's a simple thing worth celebrating. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more fascinating histories behind the technology we use every day.